Welcome, everyone. It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 939. Tonight, gonna finish talking about the data center water problem that was happening 2 weeks ago when I was recording, and that was like live happening with my oldest son on site, and they were taking care of that. I had a client that it was just thousands of entries of the VSS error, and I eliminated that. I'm going to have some links. I have lots more stories from the trenches, and I have a stack of listener email. So let's get started. And the data center, they got a plumber, found the root cause. Luckily, nothing got damaged except RAM in one of the servers, which is getting replaced tomorrow. And it had 32 gigs of RAM, so it's running on 16. It's just serving files. It's a real server. And then the main server, which is ready to be replaced, and we're going to talk about that in another story as we were getting ready for that. And that was a lot of work yesterday, remote, with my son on site. And everything's fine. Nothing else got damaged. That server, the power supply that I had purchased a while back that was new, sitting on the shelf, they had to deploy that, and that server came up on Friday. So they didn't miss a beat, and we were very lucky. But now we really have to migrate from that server. So that leads to some topics here. And the one is this server it was purchased a long time ago, like almost a year, and it's been sitting there waiting to be deployed. And I didn't have a whole lot to do with getting it ordered. The one IT guy on site, went on his own and ordered, but he didn't order enough drives. And what we did is we configured it anyway, because, it came from Dell installed, and we didn't configure it right. We answered the questions too quickly, and I knew we needed more drives. So they bought four more drives, or three more, because there was three, and now we got 6. So yesterday we needed to create new media. Now, this is interesting. They ordered media with the original server 2022 DVD, but there was no DVD drive there, but there are USB ports. So one of the things that we did, and I wasn't going to get into this now, but I am. I'm going to display. Let's display my monitor here, where I'm remoted into the test server in Pennsylvania. Well, we had to make a bootable USB. So I had to come up with, okay, how do we, and I had to do some Googling because I forgot about this. This is a great little free program called Img Burn, IMG Burn. And it's literally imgburn.com, and I'll have the link in the show notes. So we had to rip the image from the DVD. And I did that remotely on one of the users' systems. They put the server 2022 in. Then now we got an ISO. So we made the ISO. Now, of course, Rufus, which is a great program to make a bootable USB. So made the USB, and then we were off to the races. And I was able to begin the install. But first, with the 6 drives in, we had to lay them out with the controller, with the PERC RAID controller, And with the 6 drives, and based on what we needed for size, here's what I decided. The first 2, I made a virtual disk just titled OS and made that RAID 1 mirroring. So these are all terabyte SSD drives. So now we got the one virtual disk group. The next virtual disk group, we used the next 3 drives and created a RAID 5, named it data, and now that's almost 2 terabytes. That's going to be 2 terabytes available. The 6th drive, and you can do this with it. This is a Dell rack mount server. We were able to take and change the physical disk 6, to be a global hot swap spare. So if any drive fails within any of the arrays, the virtual disk that we created, that hot swap's available. So that's how we laid out the 6 disks. Once that was done, then had to go and boot from the USB, and made a mistake. I have not installed a server OS in a long time, and there's an option for standard and then desktop experience. Why didn't I pick desktop experience? I mean, this is going to be a server that we're going to be using regularly and logging in, and I picked the wrong option. And when I say I picked it, we're literally going through all these options while my son is holding a phone and there's another person helping, and they're typing with this little monitor in a rack, and I'm watching it on my iPad via FaceTime and telling them what to pick. Once we realized and we booted the OS, we realized that this was a mistake. So that was okay. We rebooted the USB, blew away all the partitions, and then set it up, and then got the OS installed. And so now I got to log back in. I have Synchro installed. I have to go back in and start getting all the drivers loaded. And you know, what we're going to do is we're going to be migrating their ERP system towards the end of the month of March. So we have a few weeks to get ready. And just had to go through that yesterday. And very difficult trying to do something complicated and picking options and seeing the options via FaceTime. So I was able to get through that. And now, what else? Oh my gosh. During the past 2 weeks, new client, a referral, small business, and onboarded them. So just 2 systems, but hey, take anybody. Got them under contract, and then put Instant House Call, put Synchro, Malwarebytes, and then all of our standard, tweaks and controls. That Magnus box for the backup, and then basically, made sure I took an SIW of all the hardware and software licensing info, and away we go. So just went through our onboarding process, and I was able to do that remotely, and great referral. And they're already, I'm waiting on a call. They referred us to someone else. So this was a small attorney's office that's a retainer client that referred their friend, and now that person has referred someone else. And by the way, the original attorney was a referral from a photographer from a BNI chapter. So I can, there's like 6 degrees of BNI. So my son is still in a chapter, and I've always talked about that and recommended it for networking. It's changing, and I'm not as happy as I used to be, but I'm still getting referrals. So as long as I'm getting referrals, we'll be a member. Okay, so now we have MFA getting turned on for clients, and it's some older clients that are financial advisors, that they're very not technology oriented. So we had a little trouble trying to get them on with MFA for Microsoft or email. We have another client that for compliance, you absolutely have to have this turned on for some of the insurance that they have. And they've been a holdout for MFA for Microsoft because they have an older population of employees that work remote. We're able to do that. And instead of having them go through the Authenticator app, we at least have them doing the cell phone. So at least they all had a smartphone. There was one person that didn't even have a smartphone. We won't go down that road. But you can just sense while this was very, very difficult. And we tried to make it as easy as possible. So that happened. Today alone, I had lots of things happening, and it was because of power outage up north. Now, I'm in Florida right now, and in Pennsylvania, there was some big storms last night, and it took out the power, so a couple peer servers didn't start back up. And we had one client that the one peer server is hosting all the QuickBooks files, and their bookkeeper accountant remotes into a workstation. Now, the workstation came up and their internet came up. That was it. Also, last night, and I was helping someone with the servers. Two of them came up, one of them didn't. Luckily, there was someone on site for the power outage. And here's what's really bothering us. The power outage was only for like 10 minutes, but the UPSs didn't hold. Why? So we're on that, investigating that. The UPSs should have held for a 10-minute outage. And they had to, start up the untangle, how to get rebooted, and, internet. They have a business FiOS. So once that was up, I was able to start seeing systems come online, and I was able to work with the person remotely, logging in and checking systems. And since it's a manufacturer, we had to make sure certain software programs were running, so the second shift could continue, and took care of that last night. Now, I'm going to switch to my link that I'm going to put in the show notes for eliminating the VSS Error 8194. Boy, this was happening quite a bit. And on eliminating it, there is a fix. And you have to run DCOM, CNFG, and then follow the instructions here that I have. It was and then do a reboot. So we had to change the security options, and then this took care of that event log that was just killing us. And one of the things I'm going to go to MikeTechShow.com, and when you go to MikeTechShow.com, of course, AdBlock Plus, go back a couple shows, and I do this all the time. I've had to where use System File Checker tool to repair. I've had to do this multiple times where first you run dism and you just literally follow the line that's right there, the dism exe, the example, and then run the SFC/scan now. And if anything's fixed or if anything's done, reboot. This has helped us with some problems. Now, one of the things I've noticed is Microsoft, with some of their updates, they're killing us. We've had to have people pull the power plug of a system, wait a minute, put it back in, reboot so an update could finish. So an update was hanging systems. I had several clients, multiple systems where we had to do that. I haven't had the time to track down which update is killing these Dell systems. They're all Windows 11, so I don't understand what's going on here there's definitely a bad update that's being applied. So I have to do some more work. If anybody has info on that and you're running into the same thing and you've discovered which update, share that with me. MikeTechShow@gmail.com. I would greatly appreciate it, and I will quickly share that with everyone. So now, with all of that, I want to go over some emails that came in. And actually, you know what? This was an email, but it was from Microsoft. And this is interesting. Beginning March 3rd, which already passed, you will no longer have access to 60 minutes of monthly Skype calls. Skype is going away. So keep that in mind. Something else. October 1st of 2026, Microsoft Publisher will no longer be supported as part of Microsoft 365. Microsoft is eliminating Publisher. I have clients that use Publisher. Now, they recommend many common Publisher scenarios are available in other Microsoft 365 apps, including Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Designer. So, I mean, given that, I don't use Designer, but just wanted to let you know Skype's going to be going away. And I'm sorry, March 3rd, 2026 I thought it was 2025. See, I'm even reading the dates wrong. So we got Skype March 3rd, 2026, and we got Microsoft Publisher on October 1st, 2026. And then, of course, this October 2025, you got Windows 10 end of life. So, couple things I still have. And I want to read the rest of Jason's email because I am now going to have to do this manually. Keep running into delays on a mail migration from Ionis to Microsoft 365. So Jason continues, you were asking about the IMAP integration for migrating mailboxes to Office 365. We use this quite often when going from Google Workspace or a web-hosted email to Office 365. It works really well. We've done upwards to 40 mailboxes at a time. The only thing to keep in mind is this only grabs email. Now, this is the Microsoft migration. It only grabs email and does not grab contacts or calendars. So typically, when we log in the machine to switch the user account over, we just create a new profile and attach the Office 365 new account. But before we do that, we export the contacts and calendars as a CSV file and re-import them once we make the new profile, so it only takes like an extra minute or so. Also, one other way you can do a migration is to make sure that the local user's Outlook is set up to do all email downloads and make sure it's already downloading everything if you do have to change the setting. You can also export the email to a PST file on the local user's machines. Here's the problem. They're Macs, Jason. So and a lot of the techs use iPads. So this has been a challenge. Make a new user profile for the Office 365 and then import the PST and let it upload. It does take a while and annoys the user because it takes away the bill to receive new email as it's syncing folders. Yes, and I've had to do that. But once it's done, it works perfectly fine. This grabs all the contacts, calendars, etc. We have done this for several accounts as well. Just a little bit of a manual process. We have used BitTitan in the past, and the thing with it, takes so long to set up and configure that you just have a few mailbox. It's not worth the time, and we just do it manually. If we had hundreds of mailboxes, then yeah, sure, it's definitely worth it, or maybe even more than 30 or 40. We have 20, and we have made the decision, my son and I, we are doing this manually. But what are we going to do for the iPad users? Clearly, I have to log into the web of Ionis and see what the export options are and see if I can export. And then from webmail of Microsoft, can I do an import? So this is something I have to test between those two. I'm doing that over this weekend. I'm going to do a couple tests because we have a meeting Monday. Client is, and rightfully so, not happy that everything's taking so long. So I got to smooth things over and make this right and hopefully have this process nailed down before Monday's meeting. So still have a ton of work to do. So Jason, thank you as always for your recommendations. I really appreciate it. This is Tim, and he says, "Hi, Mike. I know you are always on the lookout for new and useful extensions or apps that we use, and I would like to share one that I recently discovered. This one is especially useful on multi-monitor setups. If you watch YouTube videos, YouTube currently only allows you to watch videos in full screen or the default view. The default view doesn't fill the screen. And with full screen, you lose access to the browser window and URL bar, etc. This is annoying if you need access to the second monitor, as you have to minimize the video every time." He's exactly right. This extension allows you to watch the video in the browser but fills the window up, similar to playing a video game in windowed mode. Now you can watch the game or whatever and still be productive. I don't know why YouTube doesn't function like this by default, and hopefully this is something they implement at some point. The browser extension is called YouTube Windowed Full Screen and is available here for Firefox. The browser extension, Firefox, I believe it is also supported on some other browsers, including Chrome. Always love the show. Tim from England. Tim, thank you so much. That link will be in the show notes for tonight's show. I really appreciate that. And now let's get to the last email here, and this is from Bob. "Hi, Mike. I know you have talked about this on your show many times in the past, but another victim fell prey to these elderly scammers. Our neighbor, who is in her 80s, just got scammed and did everything you were not supposed to do. She called the number that she got from a text message, and when she responded to them, she got scammed out of $11,000. The scammer had her take the money out of the bank and said to her if they had any questions to tell them it was going to be used for a construction project." I mean, wow. I mean, he continues, "The bank did warn her about being scammed, but she did it anyway. He also had her buy gift certificates and then scratch off the numbers and read them back to him. During this whole process, there were red flags popping up every step of the way, but she ignored all of them. I really feel sorry for her, but she is in the target audience that these jerks go after because they either don't get the word or they are very naive. This is where families of elderly folks need to explain to their family members about these scams and tell them to never call any number that's in a text or an email. If they have questions, ask somebody else first. And this is Bob from Dover, New Hampshire. Bob, thank you so much. This is a big problem. And I've talked about this a lot. And there is a large portion of our population that they can't even conceive that there is a human being that would want to con someone. They can't even think that it's a possibility. And that's why we have to do our best in training them as best as we can, no matter how many times it takes, to educate, to just take a look, and I call it do the smell test. Does this smell right? The person's asking you to tell you it's a construction project. Well, really? What was the real reason that they were using to get the money in the first place? Why isn't that good enough? This is the problem, and getting people to think. And we have one major rule that very few listen to this rule. If somebody asks you to do something, don't do it. Whether it's a phone call, a text message, a website pop-up, or an email. If anything is asking you to do something, don't do it. Question it. Ask someone else. Ask your son, ask your daughter, ask your IT person if you have one. Run it by them. We get this all the time where someone will forward us an email. They've been Malwarebytes users for years and years, but they get the fake invoice for McAfee and they forward it. Do I need to pay this? And we say, no, it's a scam. Please delete it. You don't have McAfee. Or if it's not the word McAfee, it's something else. And I get these all the time, and they go right into my junk email. So let's all make sure we educate everybody as best we can when we're in front of them, teaching them the proper protocol so they don't get scammed. So a quick story that I'm going to share, and I was going to share this if Ryan was with me tonight. He was recently at a concert that the parking lot did not have. They had someone who looked like an attendee there, but this particular night there shouldn't have been one there. And he said it didn't seem right, but the person could not. He didn't have cash on him. They couldn't take a credit card, but they took Venmo, and they charged him $25. Now, he went into the venue, and they said, no, they didn't have anybody there for parking. This was someone scamming people who were pulling in, thinking there was parking. What he did was reported them on Venmo, and hit social media with the comments on Venmo saying that this was a scam and this is the account. And the person returned his money. That's very rare. He was very lucky. But even someone who they're getting so good at it. I've seen emails that, wow, they look so good. I mean, this really looks like PayPal, but it's not. With AI and the bad actors getting smarter and smarter, the scams are looking better and better, and it's becoming more difficult. And that, unfortunately, we got to step up our game at the same time and make sure we're taking care of, elderly people and people that are the target for these bad actors so we can save them some money and some grief. So that is it for tonight's show. And remember, YouTube videos are at youtube.com/Michael Smith MTS. I'll post every video as soon as the show's over. And go to MikeTechShow.com. It'll flip you to MikeNation.net. And there you can find everything that you need, including a link to make a donation to help support the show. I greatly appreciate all donations that happen from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. That's it. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel. Bye-bye.